Okay, we are live.
We'll get the August 11th DRC meeting started at 10:05. And starting the first item on the agenda.
We are live.
We'll get the August 11th DRC meeting started. Oh, there we go.
Just like
All
for
right.
yourself.
Yeah, I do just want to hear myself talk most of the time. The first item on the agenda is the Orchard Hills Phase 2 subdivision application. This is the second time the DRC has reviewed this item. We've got some representatives. If you guys want to come and join us at the table. If you'll give your name for the minutes, please.
Kevin Olson.
John Smiley.
Thank you. Just some quick background. Again, there's the existing 16 units that are built on the corner of 120 East and 690 South. And so the proposal is to bring an additional property into that phase and kind of reduce some of the parking and the drive aisles here to accommodate and to connect the other 20 units that they're proposing. So with that said, we'll kind of go around the room starting with Taylor with fire.
So last time we had talked about the dead end length.
Go through that one real quick.
They had a fire sheet.
Yep, this exhibit here.
The way it's measured right now isn't exactly correct. It's got to go, it would go all the way to the end of the curbing,
Also extend from here.
all the way to the.
So we'll go from this intersection
from that
here
point
to
the curbing,
the curb right
which
there.
would put it in excess of 150 feet. I know one of the things we kind of talked about last time was just making that entrance an actual entrance off of Highland Drive. I know there was some concern with the ability of doing that. My recommendation with that would be is to just make that an improved so that it can be accessed off of Highland Drive, but then we put in a gate for something of that sort that only fire can access. So it's not an actual public right of way, but we have emergency access, because then you wouldn't have to change anything to your parking lot layout. So that would be my recommendation. I don't know if anybody else has anything to add to that, if that's a feasible thing with city ordinance or anything.
Would you need it to be like appropriate concrete ramp and stuff like that, or could it be like the trail and grass there, just with no trees or something that is in your way?
Preferably not grass, but if we had like
Rock or something.
a rock or a road base or something there that we could.
So we could implement it into the landscaping.
Like a decorative rock, and then and you just drive over the top of that, or
Yeah, if it's, a rock that we could.
right? As long as we'll put a decent base to it,
And I mean, we're not talking something that we're gonna drive over.
but once every 10 years or something like that. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully never. Yeah, exactly.
Only
Okay.
one item just to look at that would have to look at the access, because Highland Drive is considered a collector road, and would have to look at spacing for accesses and stuff like that. And that's an item we'd have to look at, compare with our standards and city code, see if that would be a potential option.
And you have a high back curb there too off the. Yeah, you do have to do an approach or, cut the curb or something.
So we'll have to look at, see how that what other city codes and access codes would be applicable for that solution. So.
And if not, then we've got to have.
Yeah.
Then we got to do some reworking.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the other thing I know we talked about last time, and I didn't have a solid answer for you, but the units that have
Oh, yeah.
commercial and residential in them, those do have to be fully fire sprinklered where they're a mixed occupancy.
Okay, all levels.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's all I have.
Thank you. Rod, please.
Are those names set in stone?
No, they're just not John and Kevin. So if you've got something better, we'll take it.
As long as it's not apple and cherry.
Okay. Too many of those.
John. More fruit.
Yeah.
Are we back to John and Kevin now?
I mean, we already have a cherry lane, right? And an
Okay.
apple.
Okay, we'll come up with something
Yeah.
else.
Apple.
Sure.
We are
we'll-
happy to come up with names if you want.
Yeah,
That would be-
do.
that would be
Yes,
great.
we would love you to.
We'll do
Yep.
that. We'll
You,
come up
you,
with
you
some-
come up, as long as it's not John and Kevin.
That's still, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
One of three places when you're trying to go somewhere.
Oh, Paris and London.
There you
As long as
go.
it's not a fruit, I don't care.
Wade, with Public Works, got anything?
No, I think we had the meter issues. They were all addressed on your notes, right?
Mhm.
Yep, yeah, yeah.
I think we're good there.
Randy,
This is preliminary, right?
this is preliminary, correct?
No, I mean,
Good. Ben? Jason, start pull up our
Yeah,
red
pull up
lines.
the red lines. There's a lot of repeat comments that haven't been addressed since the last meeting.
Oh,
So
jeez.
I don't know how involved you guys are with your engineering, who addresses these things, but
Well, Ryan sent him that and we said address the red lines and get it back to him.
yeah, we kind of can't move forward until we get those comments addressed.
Nope,
So,
understand.
Okay?
so it's just, you'll see a lot of the blue repeat comments just over and over again with things. So
Okay?
obviously, the architectural drawings isn't going to hold you up with preliminary, but at the same time, that's better to do sooner than later. So if you guys can do that, we're happy to work with you and get you on the ARC agenda to move forward.
We were looking for an approval here first, though. I mean, trying to
Okay.
make sure whether we're, for instance, if we can't do that, if we can't do it the way it looks, we're going to have to go to 5 of those commercial frontages in one building in order to shrink that. And so we can't really give you elevations or anything else until we know what
I
we're
gotcha.
doing there. And so we've
Okay,
hesitated to get those going yet.
okay, that's fine.
Okay?
Kind of rolling down, there's some number counts on the parking. About off by 1.
You still
on
meet
those.
it. It's just
Still, yeah.
your counts were a little off.
so say that one more time, Jason.
You still need the parking. It's
Okay.
just your count was a little off.
So the way they have them labeled on there then.
Yeah,
Okay.
the numbers were wrong.
Okay, gotcha.
Still missing, we still need proposed grading. I know this is preliminary, but we still need proposed finished grading. And we haven't received the storm drain report to show that the sumps and everything appropriately sized. We haven't received that information yet.
Okay, and do we need grading for a preliminary?
Part of the rule, the requirements within, on the checklist calls for grading with preliminary. So we understand some things will change potentially, but grading is still needed at preliminary.
Okay, I remember having some kind of a discussion with him about grading and he said, I can't do it yet until we know what's going on. But I don't remember all the details that we talked about.
We
So,
can provide the checklist, just show it to them, so it shows that grading and storm drain report are needed.
okay.
So.
And then what was that one?
Oh, that one is, again, we've already discussed it. It was, it's just a
Oh,
note
okay,
to
good
discuss
enough.
that
Okay,
fire
thank
turnaround.
you.
So with this subdivision, the record of survey that's included with this does not match what the boundary description is of the subdivision itself. So is there contemplation to do right-of-way vacation, dedication? There's some discrepancies with the boundary lines associated with it. So if you notice here, the big, real easy one to see, up here in this north west corner it starts to radius around the back of the sidewalk as you come into Highland Drive and 120 East, to match what's currently constructed. To go down, you look at your record of survey, the fee title described in the record of survey does not follow that path. And that property there is Santaquin right of way. And if there's a proposal to modify property lines there, then that's a discussion that will need to be had, that just needs to be clarified, and make sure that we work through that process.
I think we just go with
associated
the
with it.
existing that's already there, correct?
So potentially, there could be, say there's some technicalities that could come in with property swaps and everything like that, to go with that. The problem is even though you have, so this would technically be your property boundary line, which would change your offsets and your setbacks associated with the buildings here.
Okay,
So,
so now, doesn't the city own, I think we had some preliminary talks about, you guys own that little strip of ground?
yeah, Santaquin City currently owns this. So here's on the existing Orchard Hills, the first phase, property line that's right here is back behind the sidewalk. It's the 2 foot back behind the sidewalk is.
Okay.
However, you start to roll north, and that's not necessarily the case according to the record of survey, according to the information that we have. And the 120 East here that was constructed with the Orchard Hills Elementary School when that was done.
Right.
So those are that boundary that boundary description that's associated with this, and your subdivision plat, that alignment, you can kind of see right here, that point is matched up as you go north when, according to the record of survey and the other information associated with 120 East, there's a jog or an offset. It follows the fence line and then goes north.
So John,
Yes, sir.
as a clarification, I believe what you're trying to portray here is that the current setbacks would entail a property acquisition from the city in order to meet the way they currently have it drawn. Is that an accurate statement?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. So if they can meet setbacks without that property swap, we can still leave it the way that it is. But the way the buildings are drawn right now compared to the property lines, that's not what's being portrayed or being proposed.
Correct.
Okay.
I think we want to clean it up. I think you guys want to clean it up too.
Absolutely, so we'd like to.
Right, so that was some of our conversation.
So
Here's the thing, if the
Okay.
city vacates that right away, I think it was something that we got from the school district, so it would revert back to them. I don't think the school district wants anything to do with that, so that'd be something you need to work out with the school district to get it cleaned up.
Okay.
Vacating and surplusing are fairly complicated legal processes that you need to go through
Okay.
if the city is to let go of that property.
And if you guys let go, it goes back to the school district, Nebo.
If
and
it's a
then we-
vacate, then we're not looking to get remuneration for it, so that's why it goes back to the original owner, which is the school. If it's a surplus and a sale, then it has to go to public
Tax.
auction, and you have to, so there's different legal processes, no matter which direction you go. They become fairly complicated. Not impossible, but fairly complicated.
And if we just kick the setbacks back, that's what we'd have to do to avoid that.
It would be a domino effect of shifting everything in your development to make it work.
Correct.
So it's also, I'm sure for you, is very complicated. So
And it would look nicer. I mean, you have buildings E through A and then buildings 1 through 7. They all line up nicely. You have to go back. It's gonna make everything look a little odd
Yeah,
and
it
skewed.
Okay,
So,
so we need to get a hold of Nebo School District.
well, they probably won't know what you're talking about at this
Right,
point.
so yeah, that's just what I was gonna say. So
So-
you're telling us to get a hold of them, and we're gonna get a hold of them, and they're gonna go,
No,
Wait
we're
a
not
minute.
saying that. What we're saying is you need to probably put forth a proposal for which then Santaquin City evaluates it, brings the school district in, and then would need to go through a legal process with the school district to acquire it from them, but they would have to go through some legal process to surplus it and sell
Sure.
it and all that
Sure.
thing. So
Might almost be better to go on the setbacks.
it may. There's just, each process is probably
Correct.
complicated.
So my question to you guys is, then if that reverts back and keeps Nebo School District's property, your property, then who maintains it?
If it's in our right of way, it would be something that we would have responsibility for. However, like all other right of way,
But that would be stupid.
well, like all other right of way, like park strips and stuff,
Right.
our code indicates that it's the responsibility of people who have frontage on that right of way to
Exactly.
maintain.
So
we
anywhere in
just
town,
should
if
take
we,
care of it, and make it look good.
so anywhere in town that we have a sidewalk, park strip and then road, it is a responsibility by code for that property owner to take care of
Okay.
it. So even though it's city right of way.
Right, okay,
it
sure
would really.
thing. Okay, gotcha.
Okay. Okay, so, and I'm new at this, so tell me what that proposal should look like. I mean, you're saying we're supposed to bring your proposal, so we're gonna grab a crayon and write, yeah, I mean, tell me what that proposal is supposed to look like.
So what it would be is essentially an exhibit showing kind of a hybrid of these, showing, the proposed area
Okay,
that would be modified or that's within city right of way. So it'd be potentially this corner here and this
that jog
this
there,
edge
okay,
here
yep,
as it goes through. And then you would kind of, and showing your record of survey that shows, where the current property line is,
okay.
and just kind of illustrating this stretch of
Identifying that gap right there,
identifying
okay.
that portion of, to say, this would be the area that would be.
With the legal description,
Yeah.
we will then take that to our attorney and have him review whether it's better to go through what's called a surplusing process or a vacating process. So there's
Okay.
two different courses.
Good enough, gotcha. Okay, I can take it
Basically, a
from there.
before and after,
I can take it from there, okay,
and a formal request to acquire that.
good enough, gotcha,
Have the city vacate, so you can't acquire it.
okay, got it. Thanks.
So, again, a couple other little comments on that. On just some plats, but that can be worked out as you go through. Then some additional landscaping comments from previous.
Oh, yeah, we can't, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I knew those were gonna be repeats. We can't get anything back from our landscape guy very quickly.
So I say those are really the main point, the main comment that's kind of still being addressed is that property. So most of and the fire access.
And the fire
are
access,
Are the two items that are in, that really
Limbo.
Limbo.
Okay.
So. Okay, any other discussion? Thoughts?
I'll make a motion to table, based on the lack of information that we have to really move forward in a way to understand what this is gonna look like.
Motion on the table. Is there a second?
Second.
A second. Any discussion on the motion?
Just a question. Are these items that can't keep it from being approved as a preliminary and be taken care of prior to moving it any further along?
The biggest thing is the right of way.
Is that something new to them this time though? They were here
Yes, it is.
2 weeks ago and now we're throwing something new at them and holding them up again.
Yeah, because part of the review is looking at, typically, the boundary description and stuff is looked at with final. However, as we're looking at it, the record of survey, it became clear on this one with that review that there was that offset, there was that change in the property line was.
It's material in
It is
nature.
material.
It could significantly change the way this looks depending on how it's addressed.
But it wasn't caught before.
Correct.
We didn't, because we don't typically look at that.
Okay, any other questions, comments? Not, I'll look for a vote. All in favor of tabling, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Say nay.
They,
Okay, motion passes. And we'll work on it.
I've been,
I
I'm
second.
Seconded.
not even quite sure what the votes were down there. I heard 2 ayes and then a nay.
One nay.
There was a head shake. Okay, we'll get these to you. We'll have to look in the code a little bit on the fire turnaround and see how how the secondary access would affect it. So we'll try to get these comments back to you by hopefully tomorrow or the following
Okay.
Thursday. So Okay,
All right, so basically the fire turnaround and then the.
and the property.
Property thing.
And then get our thing back from from our landscape
Yeah,
guy.
so you can get some of those comments addressed.
Right.
I mean, I agree with Randy. We're not looking to hold you up here, but, we don't get the comments just so they can sit there. and
Right,
not
yes,
be
yeah,
addressed.
and
It's gonna bode well for you, because the clearer this is to the planning commission, the easier it'll be for them to move it forward. Otherwise, if there's still all these comments that haven't been addressed, then, it's just gonna be,
sure,
continue to be messy.
Okay,
we'll get back with,
all right, thanks,
Okay,
guys.
awesome.
Okay.
Thank you
Appreciate
guys.
your help.
Have a good one.
thanks.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is Foothill Village, Plat H. It's like Sean, can you hear us? John,
Hey, sorry, I was on mute. Yeah. How are you guys?
doing well. Thank you, Sean.
Good.
Okay,
Anyway,
so this is Foothill Village, Plat H. To kind of give you a perspective on where it's located is Foothill Village Boulevard. That's the farthest south that they've got a paved road that goes east and west. Frontage road runs along the northwestern border of it. And so it borders Highland Drive, which was just open as of today. And so it's the next phase south of G as it starts to head south and start to build along the frontage road there. And with that, we're fairly familiar with the Foothill. We've seen a few of these coming through. So start with Shayla with fire.
I don't have the property.
Okay. Rod, do you have any comments on it?
I don't think so. Is this the one with the landscaping plan?
No.
Is that next?
Next, that's X and Y, or
Okay.
they'll have the
I don't
landscape.
have anything on this one.
Okay, Wade?
Nope.
Randy?
I've gone through, and I think I've got the address squared away, but I'd like to have someone review and check it before we send it out, but it's been adjusted for that one.
Okay, so we'll have address comments. Okay. Ben? Jason?
Didn't we have a problem with the access being too long?
So that's one of the kind of engineering comments, red lines. Maybe, there we go. The access from Foothill Village Boulevard to the south end of the project, I'm actually going to pull up their access plan that they provided to us. They did recognize that it does exceed Santaquin City Code of 750 feet for a single point of access. Waterline looping has been addressed through here because they are looping it through this roadway, INL, which is being constructed just to the east and south. So waterline looping is being addressed on there. However, code requires that not just waterline looping, but traffic access also has 2 points of connection once they exceed that. Once they exceed 500 feet, they can request a extension to 750 feet from the city council, pending recommendation from the DRC on that. So what they're proposing is to put a temporary access road that's 29 feet wide, that's 6 inches of compacted road base. That would loop from the bottom of H, from the south end of H, over to an access road that's being constructed with Plat L. That proposed road-based gravel does not meet what city code states, that it needs to be fully improved access, which would be curb and gutter on both sides and the asphalt road. So with that, that's kind of it's a major point on this.
How far is it right now? Like
What is it?
750 feet even?
It extends more than that. You've got.
So that's kind of that exception, I guess you'd say, kind of doesn't really
Because
solve the
just
problem.
on the first stretch here, you're at 500 and almost 600 feet. And that extends to about this point right here. And then you've got those two curves, which add up to that.
So the resolution could be to shorten this by a couple of homes
Potentially, yep. But then
Or-
still have to go through.
or
city
fully
council.
improve.
Yes.
And that's really up to them.
Well, they'd have to go back to preliminary if they're changing preliminary approved in terms of phasing.
Yes.
What roadway is the one that's too long?
It is Rain Tree Lane.
But they could do that. They could go back to preliminary, cut it, shave a few homes off, get to
Right.
750 feet, or they could fully improve the road leading
Yep.
south.
So it is just under 750. You've got 600 and then 675, 705, 710 roughly is what you'd be at is it. So potentially they could go and get a city council.
For
that
just this
request-
phase.
For just this phase,
But
for
just-
just for Plat H.
Okay.
So what, I'm sorry, how much did they have to cut off?
So they wouldn't have to.
Wouldn't
So you
have
got
to. They're
you
under
got 600
750.
here. Then you got 25, 28 feet.
Either way, they need to go to the city
75,
council
so
because
just under 100 and, just under 100, 710 feet.
either way, they need to go to city council because the city council who grants that exception of whether or not they can go up to 700.
So
Or it's going back to city council to get to change the phasing plan in the preliminary.
We require a temporary turnaround like in two of those lots. Till it
Well, if their
They-
proposal included the temporary access to the south, then they would need to put the turnaround, I would assume. Depending on, say they'd have that set fully improved drivable surface that would allow them to do the turnaround.
Hey, John.
Yes, sir.
I think in this case, we would just fully improve that extension.
So you'd put the curb and gutter and asphalt.
Right.
You change that note to both of them.
Yeah, I'll have to verify that, but that's 99% sure they don't want to go
Because
back
that would
to
be-
prelim and because they have to deliver these lots to 4-star. It's a weird thing, but
That would fix a lot of things,
Yes,
John.
it would. So
I
there'd be
think that-
additional, there would be additional storm drainage as well.
Right.
if it was fully improved.
So would you amend the boundary of the plat to include that road then, or would you just improve the road?
we would just improve the road.
And provide an access easement over the top of that.
Right.
Is what we have to have at minimum.
Sean, on this is the same situation that we had with INL. I mean, wouldn't they just put K in and as fast as they're moving, just do H and K all together and get it done?
You would think that's actually how we had it planned and phased. 4-star acts a little bit differently, and I don't think they'll want to. I can approach that with them, but if they're building all the road, that's like 10 or 12 lots they would get right there. So
Yeah, so either like Randy was saying, you could amend this plat and have H take in a little bit of K to get that other road, or just do K again, just like what you did with INL. So that's really what I think staff would recommend is to go back and look at it and see how you can make it work without having to go back to city council.
yeah, definitely. I'll have an answer by end of day today. That I would prefer just to put that whole plat in K. That would make it a lot cleaner for everyone.
Okay. Some other comments, there's some plat comments that need to be taken a look at. And then again, all these lots as they are fronting onto, granted, there will be a masonry wall along that northwestern border. However, there just needs to be a note on the plat itself that says no access along those, anything that fronts backs onto Highland Drive. Again, that's a note kind of about what we discussed with the access on the front, on the cover page. Couple notes just for clarification. There's a lot, as we mentioned before, there's a lot of utilities already installed or going to be installed with current plats that are in construction. So some of the lines need to be updated and adjusted appropriately to show that those are existing. Again, just to note, the masonry fence is being installed with the frontage road. There appears to be a high point here, so we'll need to look at adding a note there to either lay that line flat or a relief or blow off on that. And those are the main comments from engineering and planning. So, a couple of notes, those two cross sections are not used within this, so we won't need those two cross sections. And that's all of it with Plat H. Is there any other comments or discussion? If not, I'll look for a motion.
I think we're ready to, I don't know, I guess from an engineering perspective, are you comfortable with this moving? Or
It said really the only question is whether or not
that access?
they'll do K or H. That's really that is a major point that we need to work through. Other than that, there aren't any other comments that would. This one's if strictly contingent on that access. Right.
So Jason, the answer to that question is this is not ready to move forward. This is a final plat. This is the last time we have to look at it, and it doesn't work as they currently propose it standing on its own.
Right. I guess the only thought that I had is since Sean had indicated that they're good with doing the road to loop it around and take care of that, then that would be something that's different. But if the future Plat K, if that's only going to create more questions of how K is going to be done and how that fits into the picture, then yeah, I'm fine with making a motion to table it until we get that cleared up and we know exactly how all this infrastructure is going to be connected.
So that's motion to table. Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Randy. Any discussion on that?
Sean, you needed to check with them first before you could commit to that, right?
Yeah, I mean, we can commit to building that road, that loop, and I'm fine with that motion. That's not going to hold us up or anything. But yeah, I'll get a commitment from them whether they want to include K or just build that out completely. So.
Well, and either way, Sean, I think if you don't include K, I think we probably need to see something that, you know, we don't want to put a road down that's just going to be torn up later. We need to see the culinary PI laterals to those future lots, stuff like that. So I think there's probably still a little bit of work that needs to be done regardless of if you can commit to have that road done right now.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes unanimously. Moving on to the next phase up in Foothill is Phase X. Phase X is north of 900 South. It abuts the frontage road. So where they finish paving on the frontage road is right here. So this phase would include the next stretch of the frontage road and the single family units that are north of what's being built. Similar product of what's being built just north of 900 South and along the frontage road, along Highland Drive. They're extending that same product line up to the north and east. So with that, move around the table. Taylor?
I don't have anything.
Okay. Negative. Rod? Nothing. Wade? Public Works? Nothing. Randy?
Again, I went through addressing on this, but I want to have it checked by someone before we say we're good on it.
Okay.
Is there enough? I mean, is Y coming in as well?
So they're proposing to do phase X and Y concurrently.
Okay.
a lot of the notes, and correct me if I'm incorrect on this, Sean, but there's a note buried in Plat Y that indicates all of Plat X will be constructed with Y. Is that accurate?
Correct. Yep.
That gives the two access points, the
Yep.
infrastructure.
Water line looping and those things on there. Oh, sorry, I opened up the wrong piece.
So obviously there are two separate agenda items and we'll do two separate motions, but maybe we should need to go into Plat Y because there's some other things in there that complicate things and make it, like for instance, Plat Z is new to us. Plat Z was not shown up on the preliminary plan. That's completely new and it doesn't exist according to their preliminary plan. So something there needs to change. Either needs to be incorporated into Y like it was shown on the preliminary plan, or you need to go back to preliminary and have the council review your proposed change to add a Plat Z.
What was Z part of Y?
Z didn't even exist.
Z
There's nothing
included,
completely new.
yeah, Plat Y
Well,
included.
yeah, it was part of Y.
Plat
It was part of
Z.
Y.
Yeah.
So this line right there was included in the Plat Y phase,
Okay,
in the original preliminary plan that was approved.
but it looks like, is W already constructed?
W is already constructed. Plat V and Plat W are both constructed at this point.
So
in time.
if I'm understanding correctly, X and Y coming together gives them the connectivity they need, but the desire is to split out Z for their own internal purposes, and that would require some special action.
Correct.
But Z was always contemplated.
Z is these units here located within Z has always been contemplated.
In its physical form,
Right.
but in
Not
terms
as
of
two separate plats.
in terms of phasing, they only went as far as Y.
So both of them are tied closely together. They're anticipating building both of them at the same time. So, okay, so I'll kind of go back around with Taylor. Is there any comments on Y that you guys had? Rob? Landscaping through was included in the park here and along this.
You know, I always have a comment on trees and placing those trees in spots that are going to impede clear view. Although they may not technically be in the clear view area, I think once those trees mature, they will cause a Wade will have his crew up there cut them down because they're an issue. I don't know what types of trees these are.
No.
That would be my only comment on any of the landscaping stuff.
I'm just gonna,
Maybe you put in bushes instead of trees.
is it a separate plan?
Yeah, it is
Oh,
separate.
it was a separate plan. I don't have those pulled up right now, so. Yeah, we'll make sure that those comments are, that we look at the tree types and everything on those to make sure that they,
Particularly the ones that are on them soft curves, on them soft bends, you know.
so along here.
Yeah, I mean, we have some trees along there, so if you've got traffic coming out of there, either north or southbound, and you have a soft bend in the road, it's gonna impede the visibility once those trees get to a certain age.
Yep, so it's more, on this one, it's kind of the trees that would be associated with this.
Yeah, and I think there was some down at the
This
bottom of that street.
right here.
Yeah, and to my left, to your right. On the very south end of that phase.
Okay. So we'll look at those and see tree types and that kind of stuff, see if they would impact that.
That's my only comment.
Wade, do you have anything on,
What's that street width? We're gonna have all
This-
utilities in,
this is a 55-foot wide here.
no, the other
This
parallel.
one?
Yeah.
That's a 45-foot. So there's no planter strip on those. We got the road, the asphalt's a little bit wider.
Okay,
And then there's no planter strip on those.
perfect.
Okay. Randy?
Addressing looked good on that one, actually.
Cool. Sound good. Ben, you have anything on X and Y?
As long as they're both coming in, I think, and they address concerns coming from community development and engineering with regard to Y versus Z.
Okay.
If you're talking about both of them, X does have addressing changes.
They do have address and changes.
But not
Okay.
Y.
Those. Some red lines on, we'll kind of go over X and Y together again. The biggest comment on this one is proposing to sewer everything north, which would require crossing the property located just north the Evans property, in which is currently design's getting close to finishing up on that intersection of Canyon Road and Highland Drive. However, it's not finalized up yet. So potentially there'd be some grading that would be modified, potential elevations of sewer. Property acquisition hasn't been done, right-of-way acquisition hasn't been completed yet.
And that is fully the city's responsibility.
And so until that's completed, none of these plats Y and plats X and Y could not be sewered, not be serviced at this point in time, because there's no way they can get sewered. Water line looping, they'd be able to loop through, but say you can't flush the toilet, doesn't make it where it needs to be. So that's kind of the major.
What is the length from edge of Y to where or X to where the sewer is?
About 500 plus feet.
So I say it again, Norm.
They say it's about 500 feet or so, a little bit more than 500 feet.
So they can't physically, right up down through here, the sewer is starting to get fairly shallow.
I just meant from the top of the plat to where you're gonna connect on down.
Oh, yeah,
It's about 500.
about 500.
We are about 90% complete on the engineering design through final review of that, so that we know the elevations and the acquisition of land that's needed in the Evans parcel, and it's the city's responsibility to pick that up. And so we're going to do everything we can not to be a roadblock in that issue.
So Ben, with that said, I think if there's a motion to approve conditionally, that motion would have to include that the acknowledgement by the developer that it can't currently be sewered, and that we're working on that, and that obviously no building permits could be issued until such time as we have at least an easement in hand for the sewer to go through.
Correct.
Could a motion even go forward with Y not including that Z area now?
Again, good question, Randy. There's probably enough there that this could be tabled today. That's probably true too, Randy, since it's not congruent with the preliminary plan.
A lot of plat comments on the plat closures and such. Say some additional, apologize about that. Again, just to say there's a note that a lot of these are going to be installed with plays wide, but it's buried. It's kind of difficult to read and find. And so just a way to distinguish what's being done, what's been installed, what hasn't been, because existing utilities are the same line type as proposed for future. So just some getting those items cleaned up. So some labels that need to be provided on the storm drain, verify labeling of connections to manholes, stationing doesn't match what's shown on the plans and what's called on the labels. So, and Y has similar comments. So, any other discussion, thoughts?
Is there street parking, on-street parking on those, in between those condos,
In between these?
townhomes?
No, they're single family. They're detached single family, so the additional parking requirements don't kick in as with the
So will
multifamily.
there be street parking?
Yeah, he's not asking.
Oh.
I think it's
roads-
all going to be red curved, isn't it?
There's no comments for red curb. I'll pull up the cross section of
If it was 45 feet, there would be.
so back through up.
These are public streets, right?
Right.
Correct. So you got 31 feet of asphalt. So there would be parking, there would be room on one side for parking.
Okay, which side?
Whoever gets there first.
Whoever gets there. Yeah, so say potentially 22, you've got about
I don't
10,
care
yeah,
what-
10, you got about 10 feet on one side or the other for a parking area.
I thought there was
So-
something that we talked about that was going to monitor that a little bit. I'm with Chief, I don't really care, but do we need a red curb one side? Kind of like sometimes we have only a sidewalk on one side. Do we need to decide which side is going to have parking?
I'm just
So,
thinking
Jason?
about crash day.
Jason and Rod, to go along with your comment, we already have one of these phases south of this that has this type of situation already approved, and they're building houses on it, or will be building houses on it soon.
They are building houses on it currently.
Does not have a requirement for a red curb or anything like that. So this situation that you're talking about would apply to this phase. It would apply to H and K that we just talked about previously, and it would apply to G. John, is that correct? Or is
Those
it
have a
G or
little, G has the smaller lots similar to H and K. And they do have this modified cross section of roads. G through H and K, as you rolled south along the frontage road, are not building pads. They're an actual lot. Granted, they're not large lots, but they are
Is it V? V
actual
is the one that
lots.
has.
V has this similar, for lack of better term, kind of detached townhome type product
Common
that are,
space.
that are surrounded by common space. The other
So
ones have
again, I
actual-
just go back to help everybody understand that we have one of these phases that has similar situation with this narrower street that's already approved and being built on. I'm not saying two rights make a wrong. I'm just saying if we need to address something here with a red curb on one side or whatever we decide here is going to have to be retroactive to the one that's already been recorded and would have to apply also to H and K in the future.
And it's
I'll just say this from
wider
a
asphalt though, isn't it?
perspective, that road is wide enough that for fire purposes, I could not require any red curbing.
Until you have cars on both sides. Then
But
it's not
the
wide.
drivable width is wide enough that it's within code to not be curbed.
Hey, John, isn't that road, I can't read there, but isn't that road wider by 2 feet than even the 55-foot section as far as asphalt drivable?
Yep. So the 55-foot wide, our standard cross section at 55, it is only 29 feet of asphalt on the new roads.
Yeah, we know at wintertime, they're not gonna be able to park there.
So Randall, what are the size of since they are building these units now, what are the sizes of the garages? Do you know?
Right off, I don't remember. I'd have to
Okay.
look.
Because I think they're a 2-car garage.
Yeah.
I don't think they may or may not be the 24 by 24 as our code says for multifamily, but I would assume that they're designated.
I would
Looking at
guess,
them, they
I
look
would guess
like
20
2-car.
by 20, but I'd have to look.
So
What's the width of Flagstone, do you know? Top of-
Blackstone up in Summit Ridge, probably 28.
Cause that one's impassable.
Yeah.
Cars on it.
So Summit Ridge is a different animal, as they say. So they within the development agreement, they
So we'll actually have 4
Historically.
more feet on this one.
correct.
Curb to curb is 32, right?
Back to curb is going to be 35.
Face curb. Face
Oh,
curb.
face of curb, yeah.
Actual driving
Yes.
area.
Norm, I don't really care what direction we go. I just think if this problem, once people move in and this becomes an issue, it'll be much easier to red curb it or sign it or however you want to address it now before these units sell, rather than letting these people buy the homes and then going and red curbing one side or the other.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
So,
Well, and we have the ability to, and it's changed where the DRC with traffic control devices and red curbing, I think falls into that category where we could look at the previous phase if that's something that we didn't address before.
Well, and you need to take into account the lot size. If these lots are 47 feet wide, everything they own extra is going to be parked in the street.
But that's something that they can't rely on because like we say, in wintertime, they can't have anything on there. So they can't get too comfortable parking their stuff on the street permanently.
No, but when it's not snow weather, it will all be in the street. It already is out there.
Yeah, this Foothill's pretty bad out there right now.
If you got an 80-foot lot, you can do a secondary driveway, which a lot of them are doing, or even a 60-foot lot.
Yeah.
And you take it down to 47.
What I thought you were going to mention, and what I think is a point worth bringing up, is because of so many units being on there, there's going to be a lot of driveways. There's not going to be a lot of places you park because
Right.
you're going to be parked in front of a driveway. Can you pull that back up, John? So, and the previous phase that Norm's alluding to is the same thing. I mean, look how many driveways there are. There's going to be very,
So just a perspective, you have 10 feet between each unit.
so you might, I guess,
Then you got 20-foot garage. You've got,
you maybe get a couple cars,
you've got maybe
those wider
30
portions
feet.
of the driveway.
between those.
Then you throw in fire hydrants and you throw in other things. I mean, it might limit how much they can park out there anyways, but I don't disagree with you. I think if it's a problem, it's easier to do now, but,
I just know we've even got a few calls with this microservice wanting to know when they can park their stuff back on the street because they don't have anywhere to put it.
yeah. That's one of those personal decisions that people make that unfortunately we can't regulate.
Right.
So I'm trying to reconcile. So Sean brings up a good point that we currently have right now today, a 55-foot right of way that has 29 feet of asphalt that theoretically would have this same problem, but is being built all over town. How is 31 more, how is 2 more feet than that having an issue, which I understand, Ron. I'm just trying to look at it and say, okay, do we need to go back and change all of our cross sections? Because one of the concerns that we have is up on the north end of town, as Wade will tell you, we have really nice wide 40-foot wide asphalt. But when it comes to overlaying those or fixing those roads, it costs us 50% more to do the same linear lane mile than it does in other areas. So there's a whole bunch of different aspects here that come into play with this. And again, I'm not saying no to one or to do one or do the other, but I'm just trying to understand how do we do that with a 31-foot asphalt versus a 29-foot of asphalt that still doesn't give them any more room to park. In fact, it gives them 2 feet less. And then going further than that, which side do you red curb? Who do you make it fair for or not fair for?
Right.
Well, yes, I think I've been saying that we need to make that change for 6 years now. Because on garbage day, you're gonna put that road without any vehicles on garbage day. That'll be a 1-lane road, and not just here, but in many places in Summit Ridge and a lot of other neighborhoods. And it's always an issue, and it's always going to be an issue.
I think the main thing we need to look at is the lot size. So they don't have the room to put something on the side of their house. With these, that's 47-foot wide, right? Those lots.
So I think in regard, this is I think this topic is something that we need to have
Offline.
internally and offline. In regards to X and Y,
Code.
where we've got the code, I think we can still a valid concern that Rob points out. However, as we kind of discussed with X and Y, there's some bigger issues in play on this when it comes to servicing with sewer and those type of items that I think would be the kind of that we'll discuss and address on this.
Maybe if I could jump in, knowing the red lines that are existing, knowing that the city has work to accomplish on the north end, knowing that there's the Y versus Z aspects and everything needs to come together. I think actually it's all going to line up time-wise fairly well, but at this point, I would make a motion to table.
For both X and Y.
Yes.
There a second?
Second.
A second from Taylor. Any discussion on that? If not, all in favor of tabling, please say aye. Any opposed? Okay, they are tabled.
For the minutes, just do the exact same motion for each, since they're both separate.
So Sean?
Yep.
We'll get these to you. We'll have some other discussion in regards to the red curving on this, but we'll get these red line comments back over to you the next few days. So did you have any other questions for us?
On Z, I guess would be the only question. Would that take just a rephasing approval at council?
Correct. Yep.
Okay, we'll get going on that. I think they wanted to chop that out because 2 different uses and so forth. So yeah, we'll get with you on that. We'll get that figured out, but I appreciate it as always.
Okay. Thank you, Sean.
All right, thanks everyone.
Okay. The next item on the agenda, I'm going to pull up the little maps here real quick to kind of is a stop sign request at 200 East and 200 North. And I got that up. I'll share that screen.
Are you gonna do street view?
Yes, I will.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we pull up the DRC, have to put a map in there that shows it.
Kind of shows it. Okay. So there's a request currently 200 North is kind of your street view is signed at this particular intersection. There's a stop sign at 200 going north and southbound across 200 North on 200 East. The request is to make this a four-way intersection to control that. And part of the request is because there's been concern with excessive speed. There has been, without a full traffic counts or anything to verify, but it's assumed and it's observationally been looked at that there's been additional traffic on 200 North with the construction of the grocery store, which is, I think is logically makes sense just because 200 North there's only 1 stop sign or 2 stop signs on 200 North as it goes east and west across Santaquin City. So there is request is to make this a 4-way stop. So with that said, we'll go around the DRCs. Is there any comments or thoughts on putting a 4-way stop here?
I'll see what everybody else has to say.
That's what I'm gonna say too.
Do you want my recommendation? Take the one off 300 West. Have one on Center Street only.
Yeah.
That's not on the agenda.
That's not on the agenda.
That's a no on this one.
Okay, Rod?
I do have the traffic trailer down there, taking a traffic count, but I don't have a baseline to compare it to before and after the
Right.
grocery store site. So I can get you a number, but it's only been down there for 3 days maybe.
Okay.
So
So
I don't
sounds
really,
like we need some more time for it.
yeah, I mean, I guess it depends on what is our, maybe I should wait till everybody else speaks too, but I guess it depends on what is our intent for this street. Is it going to be a collector or
Well, it's an east-west
Yes.
collector now.
It's an east-west collector now, essentially, because say we only have one unsigned east-west corridor through Santaquin, and that's Main Street. The intention is to kind of help direct people to Main Street. However, say with only north-south corridor, main thoroughfares for people to get there, say traffic doesn't necessarily follow that pattern all the time, but 200 North is designated as that to allow for that other corridor to allow people to go east and west.
is there a certain traffic count or certain number of vehicles, trips per day that we say, okay, this is the
Where those-
threshold or tipping
those
point or
thresholds
whatever you
are.
want to call it?
There is, I don't know them off the top of my head though.
I just know it's really nice to be able to go to 200 north, go to a stoplight either way without hitting the stop sign at every block.
Yeah.
It just keeps traffic moving and flowing to get to the stoplights without creating more congestion on First East, Center Street, First West,
Well, and we
at Main Street.
bring this up every time we have one of these requests, and that is that stop signs don't control speed.
No, they don't. I have one on both sides of my house. They still do.
So if that's the issue, that's the concern that's been presented, and we know that stop signs don't control speed, it's really gonna come down to making a request that they're speeding on on that particular road, and that maybe police can keep a closer eye on it for, to help regulate that
The
speed.
speed limit sign, sure.
Exactly.
Four-way stop signs, to please everybody, the complaints we get on them, we'd have to do them on every intersection in town.
Right. And Wade certainly doesn't want a speed bump.
Ben, you had a comment?
I was just gonna, I mean, it sounds like the discussion is going to deny this request, but my only comment was gonna be, should we continue it to the next meeting and wait for the data to come back to the police department?
I think that would be a prudent thing, just so that we can have traffic, we can have, an average speed that people go on that road to.
And I would make a motion to have a continuance.
Motion?
I'll second.
Okay, motion and a second. Discussion?
Yeah, can I ask a question? So, and maybe this is something we could talk to the applicant. I know that Taylor has access to the applicant. In his request, he talked about a racing stripe or something. I'm not quite sure what he intended or what was meant by that.
After talking to him, because I was kind of curious about that as well, he was just mostly referring to the speeds of people going up and down the road.
But there's no striping there.
Maybe a racing strip.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Maybe
I think
they're
that was
creating a
a
racing
typo.
strip.
Maybe there's an E there that was added that made it confusing. Okay.
Okay, any other discussion on the motion for continuance? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the request is going to continue to the next meeting. So, okay, the next item on the agenda is the minutes from July 28th DRC meeting. Any comments on those, or? Okay,
Motion to table.
motion to table, is there a second?
Second.
Second, all those in favor of tabling, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, we are adjourned at 11:08 a.m.